Star Trek. Is it too woke? Should it be less diverse? Are the show's producers and writers pushing a hidden agenda from the social fringes? Are they trying too hard to achieve firsts? Listen to this episode to get a brief perspective from one lifelong fan who also thought Enterprise was a great show.
Podcast starts now.
There's been some discussion, some debate, even some criticism of Star Trek being too woke lately. Some have pointed to feature characters in Star Trek Discovery, which portrays a gay couple, a trans character, and a non-binary character, as well as a lesbian relationship between two characters in Picard and another character's bisexuality in Strange New Worlds. By including such diversity doesn't mean the show and its creators have become woke. Every single show and film has contributed to expanding the landscape of characters, and this trend simply continues the journey so obviously embraced beginning in 1966. But storylines that drag around a character, or the life issues of a character, can be tiring for many people. This type of story arc in writing can seem to echo those from soap operas, which isn't everybody's cup of Earl Grey. I personally find Discovery dragging at times, and at other times focusing on one or two characters excessively. But here, others love it. But do I find these moments or episodes or clusters of episodes woke? Not at all. Not any more than feeling that a particular season here or there dragged on with the drama of the Klingons, or Burnham, or Section 31, or whatever. But the inclusion of a much broader landscape of characters is not a trend in pushing some woke agenda. That's just Star Trek. It always has been. Different types of humans, different types of aliens. And for fans, we can now move from series to series if we find the writing or the pace of storytelling not to our personal tastes. What's also fascinating about Star Trek, I find, is how some shows or stories resonate with us and others don't, and this resonance can shift over time. For whatever reason, I wasn't a fan of Voyager when it first aired. I don't know why, because I'm loving it as I rewatch the entire show. A friend of mine, a massive fan, couldn't stand Enterprise during its original broadcast years, but now loves the show. Sort of similar to your favorite band, who put out that one or two albums that just didn't ring with you, and interestingly, years later and a fresh perspective can make all the difference. Even though our tastes shift at times, the shows and films somehow still sit there, waiting sometimes for us to give them a second chance. And at some point or another, many of us do. Was it woke to feature a Russian character during the Cold War? I think Star Trek without infinite diversity simply isn't Star Trek. You've been listening to Before, Behind, and Between, a podcast of Henley Point Productions. Visit stephenchristiansen.ca or henleypoint.ca for more information and archived episodes. This podcast is available on all major platforms and podcast streaming apps, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Stitcher. I'm your host, Stephen Christiansen. Thanks for listening.
Fascinating.
Production of Stephen Christensen. Podcast complete.